Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Sword. Yesterday, we talked about a just stop tweeting of Bijan Robinson. We had an absolute hater on Twitter talking about how Bijan Robinson isn't this, he isn't that. He's not a very good running prospect. Basically saying I think he said Brees Hall is better than Bijan Robinson. Just some ridiculous stuff that we talked about. Now we have the 33rd team over here ranking the running backs rooms, and they didn't even include the Falcons. Now, off the top of my head, Bijan Robinson, Cordarrelle Patterson, Tyler Allgeier. There is not a better running back room in the NFL. Like there's just and if there is one, it like I don't. You'd have to say it. I don't know who they had number one. I think you have the list right in front of you. I don't know how anyone could, because Bijan Robinson, I think, is going to step in, and I think it's not ridiculous to say, and be a top 5 running back in football. Tyler Allgeier was arguably the best rookie running back in football last year. He was, in my opinion. I know he didn't get the Offensive Rookie of the Year votes, but he was a beast. And Cordarrelle Patterson, there's no way there's a better number 3 running back in the league than Cordarrelle Patterson. So how are they not even included?
Yeah, we did something on the site. Please go look at it. We talk into a bunch of detail, a bunch of stats. I back up my point of why this is an egregious mistake. SportsTalkATL.com. As always, if you miss any of the other episodes, they're all on YouTube. So please go there. Sports Talk ATL on YouTube. Please subscribe. I'm going to first go through. It's Charles Davis and Paul Burmeister of the 33rd team. Charles Davis is, a pretty credible guy in this field. So this is honestly, it's an egregious mistake. I don't even get it. I'm going to go through it. So number 1, Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards. Number 2, A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones. Number 3, Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, and Deebo Samuel. Number 4, Derrick Henry and Tyjae Spears. Number 5, Jalen Hurts and running back trio. 6, Brees Hall, Michael Carter. 7, Jonathan Taylor, and Anthony Richardson. At first, I think, okay, maybe they're just not including rookies. A lot of rankings do that they're not going to include somebody who's never played in the league, and I understand that. But then they include Anthony Richardson. And then to that point, we can include Desmond Ridder, who is not getting enough credit as a runner. He is a very athletic guy. He's not as athletic as Marcus Mariota, but he can still spin it. I mean, the guy is an athlete.
I mean, he ran like a 4.5.
Even without Desmond Ridder.
A sub 4.5.
Even without Desmond Ridder, we're talking about arguably the most potent rushing attack last year, Tyler Allgeier and Cordarrelle Patterson. They ranked 4th in yards per rush, 4.9, and 2nd in yards per game, just south of 160 yards per game. So we're not even going to talk about one of the most potent rushing attacks in football last year that added Bijan Robinson, who I've said many times would have been in the conversation for the number overall pick. If we were in 2005, Bijan Robinson very well could have gone number 1 overall. This is an egregious mistake, and I truly think that it was just a mistake. I don't think that they even considered the Falcons for whatever reason. It's just a poor job on their end because they only had 7. You could have had a top 10 if it was a top 10. I don't know if you include the Falcons. I don't know where they're going with this. There is no excuse for not including Bijan Robinson.
Some of those are just ridiculous. Like Brees Hall and Michael Carter. Like, what are we doing here? Like, come on. Like Derrick Henry, yeah, he's a one-headed wrecking ball. So maybe if you want to have him up there and just say, yeah, Derrick Henry's a beast. You just hand it to him 30 times a game. It doesn't matter who his backup is. I will say Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, if you include Deebo Samuel, that's definitely one up there. But the other ones, I mean, it's just gross oversight. And I mean, to me, listen, we talk about this all the time. It's the one thing that we can be happy about in this offseason. Nobody schemes up better offensive play calling in terms of the running game than Arthur Smith, outside of maybe Kyle Shanahan. They're going to have a 3-headed monster. They're going to have an elite offensive line. And if you want to take in all of that, like the Falcons, the only other team that will probably rush for more yards, and it's just because they run the ball more than anyone, might be the Ravens and Lamar Jackson and that group. I still think the Falcons will probably rush for more yards. I think they're going to be the most explosive rushing attack we've seen in football in quite some time. And I think Desmond Ridder, he doesn't need to be a runner exactly, but just the threat of him able to move, it makes everything so much easier for Arthur Smith and his play calling that, you have to respect the running back or the quarterback. And if you don't, he's just going to take off for 15 yards.
Yeah, I'm not going to compare him to Josh Allen in any capacity, but it's similar that Josh Allen doesn't run because he has to. He runs because he can. And he was the leading rusher for the Bills last year. It's that same skill set that Desmond Ridder has the ability to bail and use his legs to threaten a defense. You're going to see a lot. It's going to be a different offense than we saw with Marcus Mariota, where Marcus Mariota was running the ball very frequently. I don't think Ritter's going to be running it as frequently as Mariota did. And that's because we hope that Ritter can be more effective with his arm than Mariota was. But you're still going to see those zone reads where you're threatening and you're pushing the defense to make a decision that, hey, Ritter can run. You have to defend it. So to just not – that's the crazy thing is they weren't even acknowledged. Like there was no, honorable mentions or anything like that. And for somebody as, Charles Davis has been in this game for a long time, and he's well respected across the league. For him not to even bring it up it's crazy. I mean, I wanted to, tweet him or ask him, like, did you guys even think about the Falcons? And I hope the answer would be like, oh, no, we forgot about the Falcons. Because if they did think about the Falcons and still decided to keep them out, that's even worse than I think than just forgetting.
Listen, I understand people just forget about the Falcons. They're a forgettable team. I mean, hell, if they're probably, if you're not a Falcons fan, if you think about all 30 teams last year that were most exciting to watch, like the Falcons were probably right near the dead last on the list. So I'm surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if most of these guys that make these lists from the national media perspective didn't watch one Falcons game all season. Like I doubt they watched one Falcons game all season because there's no reason to. They weren't on national television. They
played the Panthers.
Against the Panthers in a rainy,
and it was
windy
terrible.
day where it was the worst game ever. Like they probably had no idea what this team was doing. But if you pay attention to the Falcons, and we obviously do, I mean, this is what we do for a living. Like this team is going to have one of the best rushing attacks. They have one of the most potent three-headed monsters, versatile group. I mean, it's going to be super exciting to watch this run game. And it's one of the few good things. It's one of the few exciting parts. And it's rare that you talk about a team's running game as exciting. But when you think about the 49ers and you think about, the Derrick Henry under Arthur Smith days, like that was exciting. Like that's exciting football. That's what you're going to see this year from Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, we were Caleb Huntley, before he tore his Achilles, was averaging as many yards per carry as anybody in the league. Imagine what Bijan Robinson is going to do in this league. Caleb Huntley was an undrafted free agent.
And you might have a new left guard. And you might have a more steady presence at left guard and the continuity. And you're getting into year 3 of Arthur Smith. Like you talked about Matt Ryan the other day, like how if he had come in today, it would look like totally different. And part of that has to do with the strengths of the offense and accentuating the quarterback strengths. But part of it also has to do, dude, you can't just come in and teach a new group of players everything from day one. Like it takes time. Like we talked about Dean Pease's defense, how he only used 40% of the playbook. Like I'm sure you could say the same things in like year 1, 2. Now we're getting to year 3. You're kind of confident. Desmond Ritter's second year. You got continuity across the offensive line. You got guys in the building. And listen, the only guy that's brand new is Bijan. And as we saw from Allgeier, you don't have to be a seasoned vet to come in and run the ball through truck lanes. So, I mean, I feel weird being this like positive towards the Falcons because I haven't been this positive and I don't want to be let down. But I think people that listen to us should listen. And there's reason for optimism. And you look at the division, you look at what they're building here. I think it could be good. I think we could be all right.
Yeah, we should be. I mean, they spent a boatload of money upgrading the defense. It's the best defense in terms of on-paper talent they've had, even better than that 2017 team, in my opinion. And then the offense is loaded. It was one of the most effective groups last year with Marcus Mariota could not hit the broadside of a barn. I mean, that guy could not throw. Two of the Falcons.
It was shocking how bad he was.
Yes.
To think that he was a number 2 overall pick and you kind of wondered how he ended up in Atlanta with this opportunity and how he turned into a backup and stuff like that. It was shocking how bad he was in terms of accuracy because he was what, 58%, 56% for the entire season. And most of these throws that we're going to be asking Desmond Ridder to make are very easy. I mean, we're not asking him to throw it 60 yards down the field or throw in between zones and do all this stuff. Like we're asking him to hit like crossers across the middle that are running wide open because we've been gashing him on the ground. So if you just make easy passes, this team's going to run for 200 yards a game. If we can throw for 200 yards a game, this team's going to be one of the best offenses in football, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt. It'll be one of the most efficient offenses. There will become a point where the Falcons are down, and that's where we'll see if Desmond Ritter's the guy or not, if he can drive the field and get us on the board.
Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about another Falcons offensive piece. CBS thinks it's a make it or break it year for Kyle Pitts.